Hi everyone, and welcome to the compliance webinar. Let's kick off. We've got a lot to cover on today's agenda. By way of introduction, my name is Dorcas Mbwiti, and I am a senior product manager here at Waters Kluwer, and my sole responsibility is the ownership of the personal tax product, and that also includes our MTD for income tax solutions. So in terms of what we'll cover today, we'll cover the benefits around the automations and the partnership that Waters Kluwer has with FDI. And just to give you guys a bit of context around how this came about, when I was doing some of my customer research and just listening to the industry challenges, there were some key poignant ones that were flagging to myself and some of my colleagues, and that was the key challenges that accountants face today, those being process improvements, looking at what are the best ways to drive efficiencies within your practices, and how can you do the tasks that you do today in a better, more proactive and streamlined way. There's also a lot of corporate demands nowadays, especially with changing regulations and the pressures that come with that. There's so much constraint on accountants' time to do more with essentially less. And that less also comes in when we're talking about staffing challenges that the industry is seeing today. So the key thing that we were looking at is how can technology help with some of these major challenges and these pain points that we're seeing in the market, and AI, robotics, and other up and coming solutions or modernized solutions were the key to us solving this. And FDI played a major factor in having a ready made solution out in the market that we assessed and looked to fit the needs of what our customers were essentially screaming and shouting about. Customer research has shown that 80% of accountants' time is spent on the data collection process. That data collection process is the gathering of the data when you're initially producing your info request packs or tax packs or questionnaires to go out to your clients, and then subsequently chasing your clients to get that information from them. We know taxpayers and our clients aren't that great at giving us the information we need to complete the tax preparation. So looking at automation and technology to automate a big chunk of this process and removing some of the manual rekeying that you have to do once you receive that data, because again, that's also a time consuming process, is what we were looking to achieve. And hopefully today, Alex from Crow will be able to give you some tips and tricks and share some of his experiences of his onboarding and how the tool has helped drive efficiencies within his practice. So with that, I'll hand over to Andy to introduce us and to kick off some of the agenda points.
Thanks, Dorcas. Yeah, so first of all, I'm joined today by Dave Clough, our CRO, and Dr. Gareth Ward, who is our Head of Innovation and Development and has been key for the development of our product, Peter. So the agenda for the next hour and a half is to introduce you to version 3, explain what the enhancements are, get a client perspective from Alex, who's going to walk us through what the working relationship's been like with FD Intelligence, looking at the benefits and look at operationally how they've structured their practice to work with Peter. As Steph mentioned, we will be doing Q&A throughout the session, so Gareth will be leading it, and the chunk of the webinar is going to be around the training and the new features. But please ask questions as we go through. Dave will be facilitating any questions and will hopefully answer anything in this session. If we leave anything unanswered, we will get back to you within the next day. So version 3 is a significant step up from version 2. We've got improved speed, improved accuracy, and that's both technically the AI that we're using has improved, but we've also used a lot more techniques to extract the relevant information. A key enhancement is the working papers. So your working papers will build up over time. That'll be a combination of a consolidated PDF working paper with all the bookmark income types, as well as the extracted information that's came out from Peter. In addition to that, you'll have a Excel schedule for rental and for tax packs, so investment portfolios. So rental is another big key feature. It's been our number 1 wish list on our wish list to deliver this year. So that is available, and Gareth will be showing you what the capabilities of that income type is. We've done a lot of work around the usability of Action Centre, and again, Gareth will be presenting and demonstrating, I suppose, relatively small features that are having huge benefits. So we've had around 10 firms utilize the version 3 and go through the sort of beta testing of the product, and the feedback has been exceptional. Other enhancements, the key one, around June, late June, we will be providing the option to switch off certain income types being reviewed within Action Centre. So say that it's a simple P11D, P60, that type of income type, that can go straight through without any Action Centre review. But that will be by a firm choice. A couple of add-ons that I just want to showcase. We now have the ability to send out April letters, but more importantly, we have the ability to chase the information down throughout the year. So that can be predetermined by the firm. How often do you want to chase? And what you'll get is a full, both at a client level as well as practice level, the percentage completed or partially completed. So you'll have that full holistic view of where you are in your tax processing cycle. Later this year, we're going to have the payment on account and the chasing down of that. So notification payments to and from HMRC, doing any updates on payments that have been made, and then auto-generating reminders and emails for these payments on account. So I'd like to hand over to Alex now, who is going to give you a view of how they've deployed Peter within Crow. We've worked with Alex for the last 2 years. It's been a great relationship, and we've learned a lot, and I'm sure Alex has too. So I'll hand over now to Alex.
Thank you very much, Andy, and good morning, everybody. Yes, we've been working with FDI with the Peter tool for around about 2 years now, and I must admit it's been a journey, and it's been a very fruitful journey and a fulfilling journey as well on that. But probably it's best to start with setting the scene of why we're looking for such a tool to use, and probably Dorcas kind of touched on some of the points there. But we are a mid-tier accountancy firm with a large kind of private client base, and a lot of that private client base in the past has been very highly manual process. We don't have we don't outsource our work, and from that perspective. So we were looking at basically an alternative to outsourcing, or one ways to improve on that side, and that's where we came across FDI with the help of our client solutions team. And we were introduced to Andy and Dave and basically the Peter tool. And what we were looking to achieve was basically process tax returns a lot more efficiently, accurately, improve our kind of like people's satisfaction by using such a tool, so not giving them such mundane tasks. Obviously help to try and improve margins as well from a recovery perspective. And also give people more time to do some more kind of like higher value work or more exciting work in the world of tax. I don't think anyone really wants to come into tax just to process a load of bank interest or something along that line when they first join. But that's obviously what a lot of people do at that stage when they come along. So we were very early on with FDI from the very beginning, and basically worked with FDI to produce the Peter tool in terms of what they already had already, but also teach it new things and how the tax works, particularly in certain manners. So we went through a phase of about a 20-week kind of like testing phase originally, maybe even a bit longer, in terms of developing the product to make it sure it was ready for us to be able to use on our compliance portfolio. And we went through that. We went through all the kind of the key aspects, and when we were going through that, we were very clear and precise with basically what was in scope and what was out of scope. Now, to be clear, the FD tool doesn't do the whole tax return for you at this very moment in time. I'm sure it will get there as we get there, but it concentrates on a lot of the main things that we were interested in. So it did P60s, bank interest, tax packs, in terms of capital gains, gift aid. A lot of the kind of like what I'd say is probably around about 70-80% of what would be in an individual's tax return, or would be you'd see in most people's tax returns associated to it. So we're very clear, and that's what was in scope and out of scope, and we let our people know what was in scope and out of scope. Once we got through the testing and we were happy with the product, we rolled it out live for the first time last year for our 23-24 compliance process. And we decided to roll it out for all of our client base across all of our offices in the UK. But we restricted use to the tool to the people who would be using it, which would be the more junior staff members in our team, because they were the ones who were taking on that first now review process associated to it. So we had about 50 people using the tool on that side. And we rolled it out across every single client. We took that approach because we thought, actually, as I said, a lot of the stuff, even if it's only used a small amount, the tool on someone's tax return, it's still going to help and get people used to using the tool as well for when more stuff comes in associated with the Peter tool and going forward. So we kind of like sped up their training process by doing that, I'd like to think. So we did that. And what we also then decided to do as well was, when we were implementing the tool, we went round every single office of ours and we did a roadshow, effectively showing how the tool worked, making sure they're all comfortable with it. Because our biggest challenge that we have is not actually probably with the tool and the output of the tool, it's actually getting people to change their process slightly in terms of how they're doing their work. And I think that's still our biggest barrier, because people don't particularly like change. And also they find it a bit different. But I think once we see the benefits of such a tool, we're going to move towards that, and people will start using it more, and there'll be sometimes less resistance to it. And I think we are getting there on that, and that's me speaking very frankly in terms of where we are. So we went around, we gave training, we also did videos, we also put into place particular procedures associated with everything, and we then built that. And then when certain things basically needed updates to certain items, we had a whole kind of Microsoft Teams channel that we let people know on, and we were encouraging feedback a lot from people. We've just completed our first year effectively with it, and as part of that process, we're still collecting the data, basically feedback in terms of how we think the product's gone and what we can do to improve it. And we'll be feeding that back to FDI shortly in terms of it. But we'll go through a second process of, now we're in year 2, we're still going to be using the products on all of our client base, and we're going to hopefully see much more successful results, because I think one thing that we did see last year is probably our time savings weren't there, but I think that's because our time savings are more to do with the training associated with the tool. And once people got to know to use the tool, actually then we did get the time savings that are coming through. And that's what we're hoping to see much more in our second year. But accuracy was massively improved. Also, I think other kind of key feedbacks that we've seen in the last 12 months is that when we did get to our busy season of December and January, it did become a really valuable tool to be able for people to use, to actually go to the tool and say, right, actually, I'm going to put this into Peter, use Peter and get the results out of it that way, rather than somebody doing it themselves. And it might have taken an hour, 2 hours of their time, which is very valuable in that period. So it helped us deliver to our clients much quicker as well on that side. So that's how we've kind of put it in operationally. There have been challenges, obviously, as we've got along, but we've always learning, and this journey is continuously evolving associated to it. Some of the other key features that sometimes might not be mentioned, but we find really particularly helpful associated with this is that we also have it linked in with our DMS system as well. So that really helps from our perspective in terms of when the information gets analysed and harvested or something, we can then file it away appropriately. So then when it comes to a review stage, it's quite easy for somebody to see. The improvements have got considerable over the year. I remember when we first started with the taxable portfolios, they weren't as accurate as we were hoping for, but we have got to a much better position as we are now, and we're hoping for more improvements as we go through. But some of those tax packs can take a very big chunky amount of people's time in terms of processing, so we are saving in that side. And then in terms of the Action Centre as well, again, we find that useful to use. There are some kind of like product features that are now going to be improved for this year, which I think will help a lot in terms of the analysing. But it is one of those features, again, that it makes you just have that point to stop, consider, learn, and then put it into CCH, which is really helpful on that side. And then one other thing to mention as well, in terms of the whole partnership, I think the partnership, we obviously use CCH. FDI has got a very strong partnership with CCH, and so I think that's a very key component for us as well, in terms of any product developments that are going on between the two firms are being dealt with appropriately, and also will be ensured that if there's a change in CCH, you'll get put through in terms of the FDI kind of aspects of it as well. And that continued partnership is quite hopeful for us, especially with MTD coming up on that side. So it does make a big improvement. So in summary, I think some of the benefits we've seen in the last year are improved accuracy. We have freed up more people's time to do in our busy period. We are impressed with the potential of the tool going forward as well, and trying to bring more items into scope and the continuous development. I've been really impressed with the FDI team and the weekly updates that we get and the actual working with us. So if we go to the problem, it's not, no, this can't be done. It's like, yes, we can solve this and we can sort that. So it's been a really collaborative working relationship. Even so, I'm considering maybe taking on some of the FDI people from my own tax team on that side. But also has given, I think, some people more time to do some of that more high value work and less of that kind of like more kind of what I say mind numbing data entry kind of work as well, which is really, really important for us. So we are very happy so far with how the relationship is going. We are keen to keep evolving that, and we see this as a long-term plan for our kind of like our department, and hopefully it will grow as we go along. So hopefully that gave everyone a bit of our kind of like client experience. I know there's a bit of a whistle-stop tour through it, but I am happy if anybody has particular kind of questions on aspects, then happy to take some questions and ask some of those as needed from people. So whether that's now or if you want to hold on till later in terms of Q&A, I can do that from that perspective, Andy.
Thanks very much, Alex. Thank you. I'm going to hand over to Gareth now, who is going to walk you through the product. So over to you, Gareth.
Okie doke. Let me share my screen. Right. Can we all see this? Yeah, looks good. So, as everyone was saying, I'm going to talk you through how this product works. And the part I'm going to focus on is the Action Centre. This is the part where most users will be spending their time. But before we get there, just very quickly, how the bot runs. So the way it'll work is everyone's got their own document management system. So we'll set up some way of you saving files to your clients like you normally would, but for the bot to know to pick them up and check them. So there'll be like a two-process tag or a two-process folder. So on your side, you do the exact same thing you always do, where a client sends in a document via email or whatever it might be, and you save it to their folder. And then what the bot does, it'll scan every so often and check for any new documents to extract data from. When it does that, it picks them up, it moves them into processing, so you know that the bot's picked them up, and then you'll get a notification telling you that you've got an action to complete in the Action Centre, and that's what I've got on screen now. So this is a cloud portal. You'll have your own link to your own sectioned off Action Centre inbox, so just for your firm. And what the users do, they go into it and they go to the inbox, so I've got here, and they'll see this screen. So I'll just quickly go through this. So this is where different tasks appear. So on the left-hand side here, you can see I've got my tasks, so tasks that belong to me. I've got pending, unassigned, and completed. So unassigned just means there's a task that hasn't been assigned to anybody yet. But what we do is we link it to your DMS or CCH database so that we know for a given client code. So this is a test client code for our redacted data, but that would be linked to a person who has an Action Center license, and the bot would know to assign it to them automatically. But if that wasn't set up, because not everyone has that ability, then what you can do is you can manually assign actions from the unassigned tab to a person. So in this case, I'm assigning to myself. And then they appear in this pending tab. So this is where the bulk of the work will get done. So each one of these actions here, if I just click through just quickly, they correspond to a document that's been saved in the document management system, which the bot's picked up and done an extraction for. So let's start with something simple, and we'll build up to more complicated cases. Some tricks I like to do first is if I'm going to be on the Action Center for, like, say, a few minutes, I'll press F11, and that gives me a bit more screen space to work with it. So I pick my first action. This is a simple P60. Another thing I can do, see here, there's a little button, little arrow to collapse. So I can do that, and that gives me, again, more screen space. You'll see the document itself on the right-hand side, and you can zoom in and out and scroll up and down, and there's various options to navigate around the page. On the left, we get a list of different fields which the bot is capable of extracting. There's quite a lot there, but the ones that the bot has extracted, you can tell because there'll be a red dot next to them, and it'll say table. So we've got here employment and pension income. So we've got the red dot and the table, and everything else that's not extracted is there. So you could add it if the bot had missed something, and we'll get to that later, that you know that those aren't relevant to this document. So first thing I do is I check the client code and names field to see, does this match the document? So again, this will be fed in from your document management system. In this case, it does. So we've got the bot showing me that, yeah, okay, this is this client. Because people do like to save the wrong documents to the wrong folders. It does happen. So that's the first thing you check. Just make sure this is for the right person. Because this is how the bot knows where to put it in CCH, of course, because this is all linked to your DMS. It's happy with that. Okay, next one. So I go to employment and pension income. And what happens is, on the bottom here, I get a new table that appears, and these are all the fields that are relevant to P60 or a pension P60. And I click through them, and the bot is showing me on the page where it's getting them from. So you can see the colored boxes that are being highlighted as I click through. And these show me where the bot has got the data from. Now, an important feature here is you'll notice these all have green dots next to them. That means that the bot has both been able to highlight the number or item in particular, and is confident that it's read it correctly. So the confidence scores give you both the extraction confidence, which is how confident is the bot that it's labeled it, it's got it correct, and an OCR confidence, which is how confident that while it's labeled, it has the right, it's read it right. So, an E isn't a 3 or whatever it might be. And we'll see some examples where it's not so confident later. In this case, we've got all green dots, so we're quite happy. But you'll notice on this one here, I've got a little triangle warning field. This is telling me that this document doesn't fall within the current tax year. Now, these are all test documents, so they're from all different kinds of tax years, and I've set it to be 2024. So that's why it's telling me that it's not right. Obviously, in a real situation, you really get that, but it's there to warn you if you do. So what you can do then is, like I said, you go for the different fields, make sure you're happy. But let's say the bot did make a mistake. Let's say that this wasn't the right number for total for the year. What you can do is you can click whatever the right number is. So let's pretend that this 480 here was the right number. Now you'll see as I'm mousing around, you might be able to make out a little red box appearing around each word or item that the bot has detected on the page. It's quite faint, so apologies if you can't see it. But I can click on a given item. So I've clicked on this 480 here. And I can say for the field that potentially was wrong, I can click these 3 dots on it and say change extracted value. So it'll change it to that. So the bot does make a mistake. It is quite simple to change it. And I can also, if the bot had, maybe this handwriting was worse and it hadn't read these numbers properly, I can just type over directly whatever I want. So that's how you would correct a mistake if there was one. Now, as it happens, there wasn't a problem, so I'm going to return it to what it was. When I'm all happy, I can just click Save and Close. This goes to green now because I've checked it, and then I can click Submit. Now, what that does in the background is that will go into CCH. It'll get moved into in your document management system. It'll get tagged as an employment income if that's something that your document management system supports, and the data will get typed in. In addition, and this is what Andy was talking about earlier, working papers. What the bot will also do is off the back of that, it'll take that PDF and then it'll annotate it with whatever the fields were in the action center. So you can see I've got all these red boxes with a little name saying what it was. So this is showing me what you saw in the action center. This is helpful for the review stage because then people can see where the figures came from. On the left-hand side as well, you've got the bookmark chapters. So this is telling you all the different items that were relevant to this particular tax return, so this particular document. And then on top of that, for some customers who want this, the bot will start building a working paper for that client. So I go to this. What this does is for every source document the client had, as they're submitted, it'll start building up a PDF with all of that information in sections. So at the moment, we've only got the one P60. So it's got the employment income and then the P60. If I click on it, it'll take me to that page. So it's navigable. And I'll show you this build up over time. Right. So going back to the action center then, let's do something a bit more complicated. Now, as Andy was saying earlier, simple P60, which the bot really gets wrong, won't save you that much time because that wouldn't have taken you that long anyway. So where the bot really starts to save time is things like this. So this is just someone sent in looks like an Excel extract with a bunch of gift aid donations. What you normally have to do is go through each of these and type them into CCH one by one, making sure you've got the right line, going back and forth across the screen. And obviously that takes a lot. It's not hard, but it just takes a long time. So again, on the left, I'm going to say, is this the right client code? Yeah, got the right name. Good. That's all happy with that. And again, I can see here, most of this isn't extracted except charitable donations. So if I click on that, we can see here, this is the list of charitable donations that the bot has picked up. Now, one feature we've added this year, there's lots of little things like this we've added to make it easier for the user. If I go to the bottom, there's a row that says total, and it's pulled out, and it's basically that total is calculated from all the rows it's picked up beforehand. So the bot isn't getting that from the page, it's manually adding that up and then trying to highlight it. And if it's there, in this case it is, I know straight away, because that total is correct, it's not missed anything. So I don't have to even bother really checking the individual rows. Straight away, I'm happy. Similarly, if there was a total there and it wasn't highlighted, then I think maybe the bot's missed something. So I'd know to check in a bit more close detail. In this case, it didn't miss anything. Although what I will show you, this is a really important point that people can get tripped up by. So you see here, it's highlighting the numbers that it's extracted. For the most part, it's done that correctly. But you'll notice for this row here, the third one, it's highlighted this number instead of that one. Now, the reason that they've done that is because the bot isn't actually looking at this document like you or me. It's not seeing an image. It's seeing text like this, for example. So when it's highlighted the numbers, they might not necessarily line up to the numbers you're looking at. It doesn't mean it got it from the wrong place. So when the bot did the extraction, it didn't use this number. It still got this number. It's just highlighted the wrong one. So you don't need to change that. So just bear that in mind. And that's something we're always improving as well. So if you did want to change it, then you could just, do what I showed you earlier and highlight the one that was correct. Anyway, so as before, I would submit that. I'm happy. As before, that will go into CCH. And now we've got this labeled PDF, which come along with it. There's all the donation amounts and so forth. And now the working paper, which is building up, now has the employment income I had earlier and the charitable donations that we've just added. So obviously these are two different clients, but in a real situation, it would do this per client. For this test example, I'm just putting them all in one to show you how it works. So we're starting to build this working paper up. Right, on to another one, and we're going to get gradually more complicated. So this one is bank interest, which is slightly more complicated. So we've got, again, Robert Icon. Yeah, that's the correct name. Happy with that. Correct client. Bank interest detail, and bank interest summary. And I'll explain what these two are as we go through. So what the bot does is it goes through the document and finds any mention of bank interest for a given account number and bank name. So we've got here NatWest, account number 5, yeah, that account number, and the gross interest. That all looks correct to me. And also, it's not a joint account because there's only one name on it. Whereas if I go to the row below, this one, we've got £8.44, yeah, correct, NatWest. But this one is saying it is a joint account. And if I look at it, it's because the names on this section there's 2 names on there. So the bot knows that this must be a joint account. And when it goes into CCH, it's going to know to set that particular item as a joint item. And you can either have the bot tell CCH that I'll half the numbers myself and it'll half the numbers, or you can have CCH do the halving via the automatic CCH feature for linked accounts for husbands and wives, for example. The other thing I want to highlight here is you'll notice this is a red dot. So I was saying earlier about there's extraction confidence and OCR confidence. So the bot's confident it's got the right number here, but see that OCR confidence of 58%. So this is a lower quality document. You can see it's quite pixelated. So that's why that's gone red. It's just saying double check that. That might be slightly, it's not as it happens. And to be honest, I rarely ever see it get anything like this wrong unless it's really low quality or handwriting, which we'll come to later. Anyway, that's good. Next row, we've got this one. Okay, not joined, perfect. Next one, we got this. Another account. Yeah, all fine. And finally, we got this one. Now, what's special about this is you'll see these two, just for the sake of demonstration, are the same account number and the same bank, but it's got 2 entries. So we've got 2 rows here for this account number. In an old version, the bot would have typed both of those in. And of course, that's not necessarily what you want. You don't want to end up with 50 rows on one account. So what we do, we have this thing called the bank interest summary table. This will consolidate all the rows in the bank interest detail table down into individual accounts. So we'll see here we've got the first 3, but only had 1 entry. But this last one I showed you here, it's got 2 entries for that account. So if I go back to the summary, see it says number of interest entries 2. It's added up the totals for those 2 accounts. They don't appear anywhere on the page, so I can't highlight it. But what does appear at the bottom is a total row for all the interest, and the user, in this case it was me yesterday, just to show you how it works, has added a nice little note saying, oh, this is the total interest I've earned. So the bot's able to highlight it, and again, I'd be happy that it's not missed anything, assuming that the user's not made a mistake there. If they had made a mistake, then the bot would give you the number it pulled out, and it wouldn't then be able to highlight this. You get a red dot, so you might want to know to check that. Now, importantly here, this is the table that goes into CCH. It's the summarized table, not the detail table. So just bear that in mind. This is what will go in. And there's lots of fields like that around this action center where the field is there to help the user, not necessarily for CCH. And the way we denote that is you'll see this little cross icon. See that total has one there. And this bank interest detail has a little cross icon there. That just means this field is in the action center to help you as the user, validate the data, but it's not going to go into CCH. So that's what that means. Anyway, so as before, I'd save and close, submit, and that'll go off into CCH. And as before, we now have the labeled document and the working papers will be updated again. So now we've got 3 documents. We've got the bank interest and the bank interest, charitable donations have the one we had earlier, and the employment income from the start. So the bot's going to keep going through and updating this as more and more documents for that client are processed. Right, let's go on to a nice exciting new thing, which is rental income. This is obviously a highly requested feature, and it's quite a tricky one because rental income can come in so many different ways and forms. But we believe we've got it working for the most part. I mean, there will be some things like if someone sends in a 200-page invoice, that'll be a bit harder. But for the most part, your agent statements and your summarized tables and stuff should do a good job. So in this document, we have 1 page here, which is some handwritten notes for a particular address, and another page, again, handwritten notes. So what I do, the bot, it will extract each individual expense or income row for a given property, tells you what tax year it is because clients like to put multiple tax years in for rent, tells you the address, whether it's jointly held, in this case they're not, and then we've got income or expense type. So these are categories that correspond to CCH. So this is how the bot knows where to put them, the end stage, and then the amount according to that category. and whether or not it managed to pull out a description. Now, in this case, it didn't pull out this rental one. If I click plus, you'll see why. It's because the handwriting here, the OCR thinks that's a key, which doesn't look like rent, so it decided it wasn't relevant. Of course, it was, so I can make that change. There we go. Save that. And I just go through, check I'm happy with each of these categories. Yeah, this all look good. That's for this Nangara flat. I'll come to the second one in a minute. And again, just like with the bank interest, we get a summary table to help you with just seeing how it all pans out. So we've got 2 addresses here. Just look at the first one. Got Nangara flat. We've got the total gross. So that's all the positive income, total net. So that's the expenses minus the gross total expenses. And these are included because as well, as you can see here, the bot's tried to highlight them, and it has highlighted them, which is really helpful because we know that it's not missed anything in those sections. And that's important because I'll show you this next one now. So I carry on. Got page 2. This one's a bit harder. This one, again, is a bunch of expenses and income for rent. Just like before, I can go through the values and just see what is extracted. And you can see here, it's pulled out this 1541 despite it being crossed out. Now, I included this to show you that it's not perfect. There will be some mistakes, especially on handwriting. So the bot wasn't able to realize that this particular item isn't to be included. However, it did realize that for the insurance one below. It just all depends on how good the handwriting is and how well structured the document is, whether or not it can pick that up. And straight away, I know there's an issue because I look at the bottom, these 2 numbers, which are clearly totals, aren't highlighted. If I go to the rental summary table for that address, I can see the totals here are not matching to the totals here. They're slightly off. So that tells me that something's wrong. And if I go to the rental income, of course, it was because this general rates line was included when it's been crossed out. So to fix that, all I have to do is go to the row in question. So that's this row. And then I can just get rid of that row altogether. So I'll click the 3 dots on the right, delete row, save. Now, to get the summary to update, one feature we haven't been able to turn on yet, but we will hopefully do it at some point over the next year, is the ability for the summary table here to update instantly. As it happens right now, that won't update instantly. What you have to do, you have to tell the bot I've made a change to one of the detail tables, in this case, the rental income. I want you to regenerate this with the updated figures. So what the user has to do, at the top here, there's a regenerate summary tables, and the little note saying what this means. I click yes on that to tell it, right, I want to regenerate this. I click submit. Now, because I click yes, what will happen is, in a second or two, that will come back with the corrected version, the new action. Here we go. There it is. Very quick. If I go back into it, I go back to the summary. Now I can see those numbers are highlighted. So we've made the correction. Good. Now I'll be happy. Save and close. Submit. And again, you'll get your rental handwriting working papers. And again, that's going to be appended to the overall document for the client. But what you'll also get for this is a rental working paper Excel summary. So as we saw in the action, these are all the things in there. So we've got a front page tab, which is payer address, was it jointly held, what's total income, what's the profit or loss, and so on, how many expense items were there. And then for each individual address, I've got a tab. So I've got the Nagara flat tab, and it's showing me this was the income, so there was the rent. When I made this one, I didn't correct that spelling mistake, so that's why that's come through. But you would do that if you were doing it properly. And then we've got the expenses as well, and they're all broken down by category. And it's the same for the other one, a bit more in there. Got the income and the expenses. So this will hopefully help you with review as well. Got a nice spreadsheet to go along with it. Right, let's go back to the Action Center and carry on. Next up, we've got an example of completely unstructured information. So this is an email. Bot can handle these as well. So you can save MSG files directly to your document management system. The bot can read them. One thing I will point out though, if an email has attachments, let's say that they've sent you an email, the email just says, oh, I've attached all my documents for this year, and there's 6 PDFs. The bot does not look at those attachments. The reason being is because it becomes too hard to deal with your document management system. Like, would you want the bot to save each one separately into the DMS and then create 6 new actions? So we don't do that. You'd have to save them separately. So just be warned of that. Anyway, let's go to the email. So we've got here, look, we've got loads of different things in this one. It's not just one income type, it's several. I go through them one at a time. Got bank interest detail. So it's pulled out all these bank accounts and a summary, just like before. Each one only had one entry. That's fine. In this particular instance, there's no total, so we can't check against that, but the bot's still showing you the total anyway, just in case. But anyway, that looks good. Happy with that. Charitable donations. So they've got a list of these. Now, I included a typo in the email to show where the bot can really be helpful. So the bot's pulled out the 3 charities, and the user's written total is 2,560, but the bot's saying it's 2,650. And the bot's correct. That's right. It's just the users who's made a mistake. And I've seen this happen a few times where I might not have noticed that they made a mistake, but the bot's helping to realize that. So that's the power of that summation. Don't need to change anything. We know the bot's correct. It's all good. State pension. They've said the weekly payment was this much. And from that, the bot's picked up, okay, that's a weekly payment. So it's worked out the yearly and 4 weekly totals as well. The yearly is what goes into CCH. And one bit of feedback we had last year is, how do I know that the bot's numbers are correct here? So they don't have to sit down and just do a calculation themselves and double check, because obviously that wouldn't save any time. Well, the reason you know is if I change this to a different number, see these 2 warnings appear telling me that, well, hang on, if you multiply these by the correct amounts, you don't get this number. So something's gone wrong somewhere. So you know straight away, there's no warnings that these are correct. And again, they're red dots just because the OCR confidence is low. I'm not sure why it's so low on this document. It looks pretty clear to me, but these are the mysteries of OCR engines, and it's not made any mistakes. Child benefit. The bot's picked up as evidence that they've said they've got payments for 3 children this year. So we've got number of children 3. There's the evidence. And then again, it's worked out that total based on that number. Dividends. So again, we've got 4 quarterly payments. So the bot's picked up those. And again, we don't want the bot to type 4 rows into CCH. So just like with the bank interest, we have a summary, and it's just one entry with 4 counts, and that's the total, and that's highlighted. This time the user hasn't made a mistake. And then lastly, on this particular email, we've got rental income. So they've said they've got 2 properties. First one's owned 50% with spouse. The bot's picked that up, jointly held, yes, and it's pulled out the different incomes for that row. And then we've got a second address where it says owned only by me. So the bot knows that's not a joint account. And again, I click through these, we can see how it's picked up these numbers, and we're all happy. So if I submit that, then that covers everything in this email. There's nothing else there which the bot can work with. So I'd submit that. And again, we'd have the rental summary to go along with it, with the 2 different addresses and the different expenses. Because that was in that particular document. And again, we'd have the working paper. I won't bother showing you this time. Right, next one. Let me just take a quick drink. I need my Monster Energy. I'm just showing you how the bot can really start to save you time as people send in big documents with lots of things in them. So this is a 15-pager where someone has basically put all the documents into one, scanned it in, and sent it over. So let's have a look what we've got. Got a few different things in this one. And it's up to you. Either you can go through the left-hand side in order and just see what each section contains, or you can scroll through the document itself and see if that section has appeared on the left. So if I did it that way, for example, I can see here it says, I've donated 5,000 to 3 charities, and if I go to gift aid, the bot's picked up that, read that English and said, okay, he said he's got 3 donations of 5,000 to these charities, and pulled them all out. It was only able to highlight 1 because there's only one mention of 5,000 there, but it is correct. It's got them all out and a total. Pardon me. Happy with gift aid, so I can move on. Let's go to, what's the next one on this page? We've got state retirement pension. So let's have a look. State pension. Yeah. So the bot's showing you that it's got both the weekly total and the yearly total, which they've highlighted. So it's highlighted both of those instances where that's appeared. And again, no warnings, so I know that's correct. Okay, happy with that. What else we got? It's a blank page there. we have bank interest. So if I go to that, yeah, it's only one document here. Let's pull that out. Fine. And again, the summary table showing there's only one entry. So nothing needs to change there. Happy with that. And then employment and pension income is the next one. So in this document, if I look through it, there's basically a bunch of pension P60s that have been appended. And I can click through each one. So we've got Canada Life with their PAYE reference, pay this employment, tax deducted, and so on. And it's the same for all these. And you can see they're all green dots. So I'm confident the bot's highlighted them all. I've got 2 warnings here. These correspond to the bot telling me that this doesn't look like a PAYE number. It's just because it's redacted data, so we put random things in there. But if that was wrong, then you're warned straight away, and you can change it accordingly if you need to. In this case, it's not wrong. It's just that the redacted data is a bit silly. Okay, and is there anything else in this document that the bot's missed? I'm going to quick look through. Doesn't look like it to me. Nope, got it all. Happy, right. So again, I'd save and submit that one. Now let's look at another document. This is another common thing you get where, again, we've got 14 pages, but this time, what they've done, they've given us a bank statement with just no commentary. It's just a plain statement. But the point of this statement is that they want you to get the interest out. So what you would have had to do is go through with a calculator, note down all the rows which have interest next to them, and pull them out manually. So if I go to bank interest detail, I can see the bot's done that for me. Another thing I can do as well, I've been clicking around with the mouse to scroll through these, but I can also use the keyboard. So if I press the down arrow, it's going to take me through each row that's been highlighted, and I can see all the different ones. What I want to highlight on this one is at the top there, see this one, this payment date has a warning next to it. That's because I've set it to be the 2023-24 tax year, and this particular item doesn't fall within that tax year. The bot's picked it up anyway, just because we had the bot pick up everything it can, and it's for the user to correct. So what I would do, I would just delete that row. I don't want it. And again, the summary table then, which has 13 entries originally, I know that's got an extra row. So like before, I would click regenerate summary tables, and I would submit it. I'll do that in a minute. But let's just finish off with the dividends. So the bot's picked up 4 dividend payments, and there's a page here with the 4 on them. And if I go through, you'll notice that it's highlighted 2 of the dividend amounts in the bank interest, in the bank statement. That's because, of course, this is their bank account, so that's what the dividends are paid, and it happened to find that these numbers appeared there too. We'll improve that so that try and get it to match on the same page that they appear as the dividends, but it's not wrong. They are all there as well. And again, dividend summary. So we've got that 4 entries. That's the amount. That's the amount that goes into CCH. So let me just regenerate this to update that table. My taskbar at the bottom there is getting in my way. So let me just save and close, submit. So that'll take a second to come back with the fresh updated bank interest summary. And what we might do, depending on feedback, is we might have the bot automatically not include any rows outside of the tax year when it's doing the summary, so we wouldn't have to do that. We'll just see what user feedback is, whether they prefer to do themselves or whether they want the bot to automatically do that. Let's see if it's come back yet. Here we go. So if I go to the bank interest summary again, on this one we just updated. Okay, that's updated. Now I've got 12 entries, so that's 1 per every month for the year. So I'd be happy with that. I would save and close and submit it. Let's just check up on the working papers, which will now have a whole bunch of these documents in it. So we've got the bank interest. There was that email. There's that certificate of interest from earlier. There's that page saying there's some bank interest. And here's the NatWest statement as well. So that's all under the bank interest section, and it's separated by source. So if I click through this labeled chaptered PDF, it'll take me to each source as well. So you can see where it's coming from, and you'll be able to see the actual detail as well, what the bot picked up and what was put into CCH. This will correspond exactly to what goes into CCH. So there's the detail and there's that summary. So there we go. And there's the income from UK securities. From the email, we had the dividends again. And from this one, we also had the dividends. So it's put in through any page that was marked as having a dividend on it will be put in that section, and so on. And there's the pension income. So you get the idea. And it's also important to note that any pages that were put through that didn't have any labels on them will just get put into other pages. So you can see these are pages that the bot didn't find anything relevant on. So, and it breaks them down per document. So you don't lose them either. They're just put at the end, which would be helpful for review. Right. Okay. Let's go to something a bit more exciting because everyone likes portfolios. So far, I've shown you what the bot does with non-portfolios. It's not simple income, but it's just income that would appear usually as standalone documents, typically stitched together. So these are all the different categories, and you'll get a note from us saying all the things the bot supports. You can see them here. There's a whole bunch. But portfolios are a bit different because portfolios tend to have a whole different set of information and lots of it. So if you have a portfolio, it'll change slightly. So you can see the top here is this document type has changed to investment report. Before that said UK tax information. These were all the different fields for that. But this is a portfolio, so these are what I see instead. They work in the same way. So you start with, is this the right client code? Yeah. Is it a joint portfolio? Yes or no? The bot tries to work that out, depending on what names are in there. This one isn't. Provider, that's important because every row that goes into CCH will have that provider appended to it, so you know where it came from. Account number, if there is one. Again, that will be put into CCH on every row that's relevant to this portfolio. And then we start with the simple fields. So UK company dividends. What I mean by simple fields is fields that you can just rely on the bot picking out the total. You don't need to go into the detail. So that's UK company dividends, UK trust dividends, and it'll pull out each row it finds for these sections. UK unit trust, it's pulling that out as well. Okay, it's not missed any of those. So let's look at the other UK investment income. This is a bit more complicated. It's a table. This supports other interest, accrued interest paid and received, deeply discounted securities. The bot pulls out a description, and then gross amount, net amount, tax deducted. And in CCH, it'll put those in accordingly, depending on the income type. It's got that gilt interest. Okay, good. UK property income distributions, nothing in this one. So don't have to worry about that. UK bank interest, just like before, it's going through trying to find, let me just dismiss that. It's going through trying to find that bank interest, and it'll do that per account number. So if one portfolio has multiple accounts, then that's all fine. Why is this decided to see? Let me just click off this action and come back on it because it looks like the action center is being funny. Right, yeah. Bank interest, that's what I was showing you a minute ago. Pulled all those out. Summary. So 3 lines for that account. So if the portfolio had multiple bank accounts in it, just like before, you'd have an entry for each account. Now it gets more interesting, it's foreign dividends. So what the bot does on these, can't rely on the summary page because you have to worry about foreign tax, which applies to each individual transaction. So what the bot does, it goes through, tries to find the country, the security name, the gross amount, foreign tax if there is any. And if there is any foreign tax, it'll work out the double tax treaty for you, depending on the country. And we'll show you some examples in a minute where that actually applies. On this particular one, there isn't any foreign tax, so that's always 0. But I go through, it looks like it's got everything. So I go to the summary. We've got Guernsey, gross amount. Yeah, that's highlighted. So I'm happy with that. There are 10 securities. So in CCH, it's going to put in this row. It's going to open up foreign income section, go to add country Guernsey, or open it up, it's already there. Type this amount in. Same for foreign interest. It's 4 rows there. Pull that out. Foreign interest summary, Ireland, 246. Again, that's highlighted, so I'm happy it's not missed anything. Yep, all good. And then lastly, capital gains. And this is a big, important one for this year in particular. So it's pulled out 3 rows. We've got the disposal name, date, proceeds, costs, and gain loss, and also what type it was. There's 3 options. It's either exempt, which this top row was. You can see it says no gain, no loss because it's a treasury stock. So it's picked it out, but it knows that that's exempt, so it won't include it in this final calculation. And we've got 2 listed transactions. Let's pull them out. If I go to the summary, showing me, right, this is the total listed gains. That gain loss there is highlighted. Okay, so I'm confident those are right. This particular portfolio didn't list out the listed gains separately from the exempt transactions, so those two aren't highlighted. But what we do, we have the bot also write down what the totals are with the exempt numbers, just because, like this portfolio provider, when they do their summaries, they include those numbers. So it's helpful for the bot to also include them and try and highlight them, just in case that makes the reviewing easier. Because if they have done like this provider has, I know the bot hasn't missed anything. But this the listed gains. This is the row that's going to go into CCH because it's the one that matters. And these two are just there to help you. And like I was saying earlier, the little cross next to these two, see it says exempt cross with exempt cross. That tells you that these two are there to help you. They're not going to go into CCH. This one doesn't have a cross, so it is going to go in. Now, one thing we've added for capital gains this year is the disposal date. This can be important because you're going to have to worry about pre and post October in this coming tax year. So what the bot's going to do, I haven't got an example here because I haven't got any data from 2025 yet, but it will, when it's doing the summary, it'll give you a listed gain pre-October, a listed gain post-October, and that's what's going to go into CCH. And that's going to obviously be a big help, especially if the portfolio provider hasn't given you that information broken down anywhere. So that can save you a lot of time potentially. We don't know what they're going to look like, of course. We haven't seen any yet. So it remains to be seen whether they'll break them down nicely for us. Okay, that was a simpler portfolio. I say simpler because there was no foreign tax and there's only a couple of rows of each individual item. Let's go to a much more complicated one. A Goldman Sachs. I like this one because last year we could not get this to work at all. So it's been a big focus in rebuilding version 3 to get these bigger portfolios to perform better. And I'm happy to report that it now does. So what I'm going to do, just like before, we've got provider, yeah. Joint portfolio, yes or no. Client codes and names. Now in this case, it's a redacted document, so that's not been extracted, so that's why that's missing. But of course, that would be there if it wasn't. Other UK investment income. So it's pulled out the other interest from UK securities. That's there. It's pulled out accrued interest received. And it's also pulled out some other accrued interest, which occurs later in the document for foreign countries. Well, UK ones first, but foreign's a different one. I'll come to that. So I check all that, be happy with that. Bank interest detail. This one's really important for Goldman Sachs because what Goldman Sachs do, they give you pages and pages of bank interest. But then at the end, what they don't do is they don't break it down by account. So see, this has got 3 different account numbers with different interest. The bot will correctly pull those rows out and break it down per account for you, and then give you the total. See here, the bot's highlighted this total. That's all that Goldman Sachs give you. So you wouldn't be able to use that number because you'd have to go through, add all those rows up. So there's 20 rows for that account, 13 for that one, 17 for that one. And that takes time. I know because I've done it several times checking this myself, how painful that is. And they don't provide you with the breakdown per account. But because the bot's highlighted the total, I know these numbers are correct. I'm happy to continue. So that's a big time saver. And you'll get the 3 entries for your bank interest for this particular portfolio. Right, foreign dividends. Now this has a huge amount of them, this particular form. If I look, let me just see, I've got 5 pages. My stupid taskbar at the bottom isn't minimizing because Windows likes to be silly sometimes. So I'll keep it like this so you can see. You might think, right, well, it's going to take me ages to go through and check all these. There's pages and pages of them. So how do I speed this process up? Well, it comes down to the whole green dot system and the summaries. So what I would do on a document this big is I wouldn't even bother looking at the foreign dividend detail. I would go straight to the summary table. I would check to see for each country that's listed there, is that amount highlighted? You see I've got green dots, so I know they are. If I click on them, it'll take me there. There's the total for Ireland. Okay, it's not missed anything for that one. 28 rows there, it's not missed them. Luxembourg, 15 rows, correct. And a total, and that's been highlighted too. So I can say straight away that it's got all 43 of those correct. Don't need to bother checking. Same for excess foreign dividends. Again, the pattern repeats. Go to the summary, click through. 13 rows, all correct, all highlighted. Great. Foreign interest summary. Again, now there's a huge amount here, 30 rows, loads of different countries. And again, the bot's picked out each country, and the totals for each country are highlighted. So we're happy with that. I'm just going to point out that, again, like I was saying earlier, the bot will attempt to highlight the numbers on the page. It doesn't always necessarily highlight the right one, so to speak. You can see here this total for Philippines 365 appeared 3 times, 4 times actually 6 times. Let's just pick that one, but that is correct, so I'd be happy with that. United States of America, yeah, and then total, correct. So that's another section ticked off. Foreign interest summary, again, same pattern repeats. So, that's a huge amount of time saving, not having to look through all those. Annoyingly, this particular document doesn't have any foreign tax on it, but I will show you one in a minute that does. And capital gains detail. This is a really bad one because there's loads and loads of rows and some are exempt. Pages and pages and pages of it. So I go to the capital gains summary. Let's just break this down. Now, there's a load of different rows here because it's a complicated portfolio and there's lots of ways of breaking it down. So we've got what we do. We have the bot break it down into listed gain, listed loss, unlisted gain, unlisted loss. So those are the 4 that matter. And we try and highlight those numbers for you. So I can see here, it's got that. The way that Goldman Sachs break it down, they do UK and non-UK. So it's kind of hard to read, which is why I've got all these extra rows. I can see that listed losses, 14,761. Yep, that's highlighted. I know that row is correct. Listed gains. Oh, now these ones aren't highlighted. So immediately I'm thinking, is this wrong? If I look at the numbers, 63023.33 there. I've got 63023.35. What that's telling me is that on whoever generated this portfolio, they'll have software in the background that's got rounding errors in it. So this is the number the bot's calculated. It's 2 penny different. That's why it's not highlighted. But I'd be happy with that. And it's up to me. I can either change this if I want to use what their number is, or I can trust the bot's calculations, which are going to be perfect, and stick with the 2 pence extra. It's up to you what you want to do. You've also got warnings to tell you whether or not, if you add these two together, subtract them, whether they add up. And again, there'll be rounding errors that tell you whether or not these are slightly off. So in this case, it's just because, like with this number up here, there's a rounding error on their data, which is why it doesn't quite match these two. So again, it's up to you whether you want to fix that. And we also include total listed to see if that appears anywhere. And again, yeah, we've got listed disposal proceeds. Yeah, that matches up. So it does take a little while to check this. Maybe 5-10 minutes, but it's still going to save a lot of time because I'm not spending hours in this portfolio. I'm spending minutes, especially as you get more confident with the Action Center and how all this is laid out. So, the other thing as well. So if I save and close this and submit it, what I'll get is, to go along with this, is a nice working paper spreadsheet. So this is all the rows we just saw in a spreadsheet. At the front page, it just breaks everything down like we saw in the Action Center. There's all the different bits of income that will go into CCH. And then each tab has its own breakdown. So this is the capital gains. There's all the different rows. There's the foreign dividends. And you see here, there's the DTT rate that it would have used had there been foreign tax. So you can see what that is. Foreign interest, and so on and so forth. So you get that for every portfolio that goes through, you'll get that. And the Rathbones one we saw earlier, that was this one as well. This is a bit of a simpler one, but again, same idea. You get all the different tabs. Ooh, okay, one more thing I want to show you then is just an example of you with it having foreign interest actually applied. I think one of these has that in it. No, not that one, this one. So I'll just skip to the interesting bit, which is the foreign dividends. So this one, again, had pages and pages and pages of foreign dividends and foreign interest. And again, if I click through each country, all green dots, so I know just pull these out correctly. But this one, importantly, has the foreign tax deducted. Just pulled that out too. And it's worked out the double tax treaty for that country in the background. And that would appear in that spreadsheet, although in my wisdom, I didn't think to have that spreadsheet on hand, so I can't show you that. But it would show you that for Germany, it used whatever rate it was for Germany. And when it goes into CCH, the bot knows to type in whichever of these two numbers is lower in the tax section. So in this case, it would use that double tax treaty value for each one of these countries. There is one more thing I want to show you actually before we go to questions, which is, let's say the bot is not perfect, right? It will make mistakes, especially on larger portfolios, and we're always trying to make it better. Let's just say that it completely missed foreign interest or completely missed a page of foreign interest. So let me just delete this for a second. Um, so there we go. Let's say it's missed all these rows. So what I can do, I can either add each row one at a time, which obviously does take time, in which case you're not necessarily saving much time. So I can click through the country, add security name, add gross amount, add foreign tax is 0. I can leave that. Double tax, I can leave that as well. The bot will work those out for me. And I could keep doing that row by row. Obviously, that takes a long time. So I'm not going to do that. There's a little trick you can do, which is I can have the Action Center extract a table for me. So what I do, I click these 3 dots on the right here, extract new table, and I can draw a box over the table I'm interested in. Now the Action Center will try and break down this table with lines and rows based on what it sees. In this case, because they've got this security name over multiple lines, it's made it go a bit crazy and put loads of lines in there. I don't want that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete all the lines and just draw them myself. So you can see I can draw the vertical lines in for the columns I want. I want the gross amount. I want the country. There's nothing else there I want. I can draw the horizontal rows in corresponding to each row. Let's do that. And at the top, I'll say what each row is supposed to be. So this is the gross amount. This is the country. This is not used. That's just a bunch of other information. This is the security name. This is also not required. So if I click save, there we go. And it'll pull out all those rows for me. So that would save you a great deal of time, and it will make mistakes like that. And if it does, let us know, because we're always trying to make it better. That's how you deal with that. And then again, for the next page, I do the same thing again if I wanted to. So this time, rather than clicking extract new table here, I would click on the last row and do extract rows from here. My cross icon changes. Again, I would repeat that whole process of drawing in the lines, so on. Right, I have spoken for a long time. I think it's probably a good point to questions and so forth.
Yeah, Gareth. So we've covered off a lot of the questions while you've been going through that excellent presentation. Just while you're on that screen, one of the questions that came up was just on the interface. What is the difference between the red dot and the yellow warning symbol?
So the warning symbols are there to let you know that the bot's extracted the data, but there could be a problem with it. So in this example, there's no foreign tax here, so this is not relevant, but it's telling me that foreign tax is not less than gross amount. So if I just put something in, let me get rid of this. If I go to this row, let's say that I put in, let me just click off this table. Right. Let's say I put in this number for foreign tax. The green dot's there because it's telling me that, okay, I've highlighted it and the OCR confidence is high, but the warning is still there because it's telling me the foreign tax should be less than the gross amount. It shouldn't be more or equal to. It's just a warning to let you know that there could be something wrong here. And there's lots of these built in. So typically it's, is it in the right tax year? Is the tax higher than the gross? Is the PAYE reference the right format, and so on. And so there's lots of these rules built in just to help you navigate through it and find any obvious mistakes. I mean, if you go on.
Yeah, just a feature that's within version 3. Can you explain, I suppose it's worth updating, what you think the accuracy scores are specifically around portfolios this year compared to last year? And then additionally, if you can explain how we're measuring accuracy and how we can improve it going through time.
Absolutely. So what we do to measure the accuracy, and this is a new feature, whenever a user makes a change in the Action Center. So if let's go to an easier one, like this one earlier, the rental one we changed, where because we had where it picked up this general rates row. What the bot does is, if you make a change, it compares its answers that it originally pulled out to the ones you submitted, and it assumes that you're correct because you're the accountant and you can read it. And then it does a score calculation to say, right, I had the total possible 55 entries. I had 53 correct with 2 wrong, or whatever it might be. and that gives us an accuracy score. And it'll also tell us which field was wrong. So I would know in this case, oh, we had a general rates was picked up and it was deleted. Now, why that's powerful is because if there's loads of documents going through, and in fact, I'll give you a real example. So we had people test EIS forms. I don't have one here because they're quite boring and won't bother showing you them. But we noticed that the EIS tick box for knowledge intensive company in their stats, that was constantly being changed from no to yes. And it made us realize, okay, the bot's not very good at picking out no's and yeses on those forms. So we knew to focus an improvement on that and have since fixed it. And it'll be the same for all the different document types. So we'll be able to do a report on which fields are underperforming and which ones are doing really well. And that'll let us target improvements. And as for like accuracy rates, for portfolios, rip it around over in the high 90s, so probably about 95%. There are some providers that are giving us trouble, which we're always working on. Let's see if I've got any examples here. No, I don't think I do. This is a Brooks McDonald that did this one quite well. What else we got? Culture Void does them well. Just trying to find one which hasn't done as well on. What's this one? HSBC. Pull out all these rows. Well, some of the ones that it's not doing that well at the moment are Julius Baer is one because of the way they lay their portfolio out is just different to others, so the bot's not as well tuned to it. Some Barclays ones will have tables like this, and they'll have a coupon payment of say 25 pence repeated 50 times. The bot can't deal with that. Weird thing about AI is if you have the same data repeated over and over again, it can get a bit lost. So there are little things like this that we will try and improve. And we'll just do that over time. So yeah, there you go.
Good. Dave, any further questions?
Yeah, there's one that's just come in around the formatting. I'm just reading now. So Gareth, can the formatting of that table tool you demoed be applied to multiple pages once you have set the initial parameters, or do you have to manually apply that to each page it applies to?
Annoyingly, at the moment, it's each page, but UiPath have recognized this as a problem. So this is the Action Center. This is UiPath's product. So we have no control over some of the features available in it. But they've already listened to us we provided them loads of feedback from last year. So those that have seen the old bot will already know that this version you're looking at today is a lot nicer, more compact, and easier to use. And they're going to keep improving that. And one of the things they promised us is that for tables, you'll be able to do multiple pages much more easily, as well as some other improvements. Now, the hope is, of course, the bot won't miss multiple pages in the first place. And if it does miss loads of different pages, and we've got time, then let us know, and we'll see if we can improve the extraction altogether. Obviously, that won't apply in January because it's time sensitive. But at this time of year, we should be able to try and make the bot do better. And then hopefully by January, that'll happen much less often anyway.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
So this is that working paper now with all the different documents in it. So there's the Rathbones pension income. So you can see this is built up over time with all the different things. So yeah.
There's another question just coming on rental. If there were extra figures to add to rental accounts, so say for example, the accountancy figure, or the accountancy fee had been left out, obviously can't be doing that. At what stage would we add that? Could we edit the base document or add it at the CCH level, etc.?
It'd be easier for you to add it at the CCH level because what the bot will do, it'll go in, type all this in. You'll have all your rows in CCH, and then you can just add it there at the end. That would be the easiest thing to do. And in fact, that's brought up a really key thing I forgot to mention, which is, let's say you do have something like that where the document is missing a bit of information, or maybe there's something in the document the bot can't handle, and there are a few like more niche things the bot can't currently handle. To give you an example, one of them is chargeable event certificates. It's been so rare we haven't built it in yet. But if something like that did appear, then the bot obviously wouldn't extract it. So what you would do, let's say it appeared on this document. So you have rental income, that's all fine. But then you also had chargeable event certificate. At the top here, there's two fields I forgot to mention, which is partial manual review and partial review reason. So what I would do in this case is I would say, right, partial review, yes. And I would say partial review reason, chargeable event certificate. And what this does is when I submit this now, the bot will go ahead and do the things it can extract, in this case, rental. And then it will also mark that document as needing manual review in your document management system. And whatever you typed here, it'll apply that note to it so that you know when it comes to review stage, oh yeah, there's something else I need to do on this document, just so you don't miss anything. And the other benefit of doing this is whatever reasons people put in, we can see. So if we're getting loads of people saying, oh, it didn't do this particular document, then we'll know where to focus our improvements for the adding more things to the bot. I mean, for example, we've got R185s and partnership income. Those two will be coming online very shortly. So yeah, and another one as well. Let's say that the document was completely wrong. Maybe they've saved it to the wrong client, or it's just the wrong tax year information, wherever it is. Then I can fill the whole thing out. See this big red button here. I can put the entire document as an exception and say whatever the reason was. And then if I do that, it will just go into document management system, go into the manual review folder, and won't go into CCH. And if I go to the completed tab, I'll be able to see that these are the things that have been submitted and what was put through. And this one, I just put as an exception, it'll give me a warning at the top. So yeah, that's how you handle that. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, there's a good one coming here, Gareth, which I've heard before. Is what happens if, for example, the employer name already in CCH doesn't exactly match the name that Peter has picked up? Will it create a new employment, i.e. duplicate? And if it does, is there a way to override this in the Action Center?
So that's a really important question. So if I go to the employment one we submitted earlier, the way the bot works with employments is it goes on the PAYE reference for this exact reason that the employer can come in all different forms. The PAYE number doesn't, however, that's a unique number. So what the bot does, it'll open each employment listed and see if it matches the PAYE reference. If it does, it'll use that one. So you don't have to worry about the employer name. If it goes through them all though, it's not there, then the bot will create a new employment record if you wanted to. Some people don't want us to do that because the employment's tied down in the permissions of CCH. But if you do want us to do that, then the bot will create a new employment with the name of the employer and then put this POA reference in afterwards. But that's a key point. You do have to provide a POA reference. Now, they're almost always there on P60s and things. If there's enough of a problem, we're considering allowing the bot to search for the employer name instead. But as alluded to in that question, that does run the risk that if there's multiple with the similar name, it might pick the wrong one. So we'll see how that goes with customer feedback.
That's brilliant, Gareth. This one's an interesting question, actually. And Dorcas, this might be for you as well. Are there any plans for CCH to identify which items are completed by Peter and which are manual entries for CCH direct entries? When Peter processes data into CCH, Peter will have his own login. So the entries performed by Peter will be identifiable. But within CCH, Dorcas, I'm not sure how you identify which users posted what data into a tax return. Can you enlighten us?
Yeah, so there is audit trail capabilities within CCH for data entry. So I can take that away and share with Steph how you can go about accessing that view. It won't be on a, box by box entry, but you will get a high level view of what's being done, and you can easily identify what's being done by Peter and or any employee realistically.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Dorcas. Just scanning, there's quite a few questions coming in now. If we want to input information from a spreadsheet about partners' profits into a partnership return, given that there will be a large number of individual partner tabs, I suppose that it can't do this unless we save the document to a PDF. That's right, Gareth, isn't it? We touched on that earlier. Multi-tab workbooks, Excel format. are not supported as such. You have to convert the Excel spreadsheet into a PDF by literally just doing the file print or file save as option in Excel. Correct?
That's correct.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to that, we do have imports for the partnership statements capability within CCH, so you can directly import your partnership Excel spreadsheets in, and then it will feed into the relevant areas.
Okay, thanks, Dorcas. Another question, is it possible to create client folders instead of lots of documents in Peter where there could be thousands of documents? I'm not quite sure that I understand that question, but fundamentally, we are using the client folders within your client document management system, be it CCH or another. And as part of the implementation, we configure Peter to be aware of the client folders, and we have like a special folder which is called something like Peter to process, and that's where you would save all the individual documents, and then Peter goes to work on those documents and then presents them to you in this action center with them automatically assigned to you based either on, as Gareth mentioned, the CCH responsibilities or the DMS setup. So I think that answers that question, but I'm not quite sure.
You can just search for a client code like I've done there. So if you wanted to focus on one client, just search for their code, and it will show you the actions for that one client, which sort of functions in the same way. And there's lots of other searches you can do as well, and different filters and all sorts. But yeah, that should cover that.
Brilliant. It's a question there from Ronald. Can the bot process cryptocurrency transaction reports? I don't think we've actually seen any, Gareth, have we?
I haven't seen any, but if they're laid out in the capital gains format with the profit, loss, gain, loss, proceeds, cost, gain, loss, then it should be able to handle it. It all depends if it's different to normal. And if that's something that's common enough, then we'd look to add it.
Yeah, so Ronald, if you want to forward me a redacted example, it's something we could look at. I'm conscious now we're getting towards the end of the presentation. I'm just going to hand back to Andy to wrap up. We will answer any unanswered questions as a follow-up. And I think, Steph, we're hoping to get the recorded video out either tomorrow or later this week. So we'll include the Q&A in that. But hopefully we've covered the majority of questions for you. So Andy, do you want to wrap up?
Thanks, Dave. Thank you everyone for attending the session today, and special thanks to Alex for sharing his insight and how they've delivered it within Crow. As Dave mentioned, if there's any follow-up questions, please contact us direct. Everyone is on track to be rolled out. Some firms are already fully live, but within the next few weeks, your project management team will be telling you when the expected go live date is. So thank you very much. And as I say, any questions, please reach out.